So welcome everybody. My name's Sam Buffington. I'm the community organizer with Springboard for the Arts. And so today we're going to be talking about Artists Respond, People, Place, Prosperity, which is a partnership with the city of St. Paul, talking about guaranteed income, and we'll get into what all of that is at some point. But I want to introduce give my two co-presenters a chance to introduce themselves too. So Ricardo, do you want to give yourself an intro?
Sure. Hi, my name is Ricardo Beard. I'm the Community Development Director at Springboard for the Arts. I'm going to keep an eye on the chat. So if there are questions or comments or needs for clarification that come up, go ahead and put them in the chat and I'll do my best to amplify them. And great to be in space with you all. I'll pass it to Jack.
Hey everyone, my name is Jack Smythe. I'm with the City of St. Paul's Office of Financial Empowerment. I help the city run their guaranteed income pilot, which is called People's Prosperity Pilot. So the other PPP, and I'll pass it to Casey.
Hello, and I'm Casey Wiedrick. I'm also with the city's Office of Financial Empowerment, managing our guaranteed income pilot, and I'm here to support Jack and help answer any questions that anyone has.
Great, thank you all. So I think the first thing we're going to have happen is the folks from the city talk a little bit about what this all is from the biggest perspective, and then I'll walk people through the artist call itself, and then through the application form. I think there'll be time for questions and answers at the end. So, for the recording's sake, if you can hold your questions to the end, that'd be great. But if you do have like either a clarifying question or you need something repeated or whatever, feel free to just jump in and do that. So without further ado, am I passing it off to you, Jack?
Yes, I'm going to quick share my screen. All right. Yeah, so a little bit about the People's Prosperity Pilot, which is the City of St. Paul's Guaranteed Income Pilot. We're really centered on this quote and this philosophy that no one should be stuck in poverty or worried about making ends meet, and that it's time to reimagine our current economic structure. And this pilot's a part of that. So this specific pilot in the city of St. Paul has 150 families in it. And those families were randomly selected from our College Bound College Savings program with the city. And College Bound is where every child born after January 1st, 2020, that's born to St. Paul parents, automatically gets a college savings account with $50 in it that the city put in there as a sign of us investing in the future. We have about 4,000 families in that universal program, and we randomly selected the 150. There were some eligibility requirements, such as families had to be underneath a certain income threshold, had to be financially impacted by COVID-19, and had to live in the city of St. Paul at the time of the enrollment into the People's Prosperity Pilot. And all of those families receive $500 a month. And in addition to that $500 a month, they receive $10 put into their college-bound college savings account for their baby every month. And this pilot is going for 18 months. So it started in the fall of 2020, and it'll be going until the spring of 2022. And then a little bit about the participants of the People's Prosperity Pilot. Here are the cultural communities of the different participants: 40% Black, 25% Asian, 19% white, 13% Hispanic. And then I mentioned that one criteria to be eligible for this program is that you had to be financially impacted by COVID-19. So our four main impacts were being quarantined, furloughed or laid off for having work hours reduced as a result of COVID, unable to work due to a lack of childcare, closing or reducing hours of a business that you own or operate, unable to work due to COVID-19 diagnosis. But the biggest impact of all of them was actually the combination of being quarantined, furloughed, laid off, or having work hours reduced, and being unable to work due to a lack of childcare. So those two factors were, intertwined and really having a huge impact on a lot of St. Paul residents and for sure the People's Prosperity Pilot participants. And then a little bit about where the participants in this pilot program live. You can see our largest cluster is sort of on the north end side of St. Paul. And just to help you orient yourself, this is a map of St. Paul, and then these darker lines are the city council ward boundaries. So this cluster, this cluster right here is Frogtown. Or you might not be able to see my mouse, but we have clusters on North End, Frogtown, pockets throughout the east side of St. Paul, and then another cluster down on the West 7th, which is in the lower left-hand corner. And then, this is our contact information. Do you want to do questions at the end of this whole meeting, or we can answer questions now if that works?
I think if people have questions specifically about the city program, like now would be a good time to take those.
All right, and if there are no questions, I'll pass it back to Sam.
Awesome, thank you so much. So I just wanted to mention quickly that so Springboard, in addition to this artist call that we're going to be talking through today, we also have what we're calling a sidecar to the city's guaranteed income pilot. So we have one where we picked 25 artists from the Frogtown Rondo area. Similarly, they were randomly selected from folks who had applied to our emergency relief fund because they had had an emergency due to COVID. So that, again, it's same kind of things, right? It could have been that they lost childcare, they lost employment, or were furloughed, or they were musicians and couldn't perform, any of those kinds of things. So, and have the same people looking and doing the research. So it's kind of added onto this. So there's that. And then, like I said, what I'm gonna do here is share my screen, and I'm gonna walk people through the artist call. And then we can take questions on the call itself. And then I'll walk people through the application form, and we can take questions after that. So, all right, 1 second. Can everybody see this okay? All right. So this is the artist respond, people, place, and prosperity. So we're looking for St. Paul artists. We're looking for 5 artists to raise public awareness and support for the guaranteed income by participating in this cohort and implementing public projects in the fall of 2021. So each artist will receive $5,000, and that is both to cover their time and their kind of artist stipend, but also the project materials. So as you're thinking about what projects might look like, you're thinking about both your time and materials in that $5,000. You can always come back here and look to register for, or to look at it. That's where we will have the recording of the info session will be there. So if you need a refresher on what we talked about today, you'll be able to jump in there and look at that. the RFQ deadline. So the application needs to be turned in by Friday, July 16th at 11:59 p.m. Central Time. So we already talked about this background a little bit, but I want to talk about this part. So in order to raise public awareness and support for guaranteed income, the Artists Respond People, Place, and Prosperity will be a cohort of St. Paul artists who create public projects that demonstrate, one, the root causes that lead to the need for guaranteed income, and two, the impact of guaranteed income on the families and communities that are supported by it. So we'll be, these artists will be working with, Springboard staff. We'll do some trainings, as well as some staff from the city, and helping make some of the connections to folks and to get people the background information that they need in order to do their projects. Should point out that this project is a partnership with the City of St. Paul and Springboard for the Arts, and it's supported by Mayors for Guaranteed Income, St. Paul, and Minnesota Foundation, and the Kresge Foundation. So here's the meaty stuff for the artists here. So artist eligibility. So you need to be a St. Paul resident, and you can have a team of artists, but the one artist will be applying as the lead artist, and that lead artist needs to be a resident of St. Paul. But if some of the other artists are not, that's fine. Artists of all disciplines and experience levels and backgrounds are encouraged to apply. So you do not need to necessarily have a ton of experience doing this exact kind of work. If you are a poet, or you are a visual artist, or a theater artist, or a musician, all of the above. If you're at Springboard, we believe that artists are, people who say that they are artists. So if you are a gardener, if you're a chef, any of those kinds of things, like all of that works. And we encourage you all to apply. You must be able to attend 4 mandatory workshops, preferably in person, on the 3 dates. We'll get to what those dates are, but the dates are set. So we need you to be able to do that. And the final one will be set, with the team as we work through this. If you're a team, all members must participate in the workshops. The lead artist will receive the payment and be responsible for getting that payment out to the other artists on the team. For the selection criteria, we're going to be looking at the interest and or connection to the issues, interest and or experience creating projects related to civic and community issues. And those don't have to be big formal ones per se, right? Like it doesn't have to be like, oh, I've worked with the City of St. Paul before on a project like this, or through some formal channel. But have you done work with folks on your block? Have any of your kind of artwork as independent artists engaged community in this kind of way? So it can be like that. We are going to be looking at the quality and relevance of the artist's past work as demonstrated in the submitted materials. So we are asking for some work samples. And there will be some thought put into, the quality of the work. And then how does the group of artists together represent different artistic practices, communities, and interests? You can apply as a individual artist. And maybe you're saying like, I'm gonna apply as an individual artist and then reach out to other artists in different kinds of ways, or they might be part of a bigger team. Either way, thinking about that. We're going to talk about project parameters. So the project design does not begin until the first cohort meeting. So again, we're asking for your qualifications, not for like what your plan is for this. So we will have a time, and we'll, Springboard will do some training with folks. The city will talk more about kind of what's going on with the program, and from that start building out project ideas. So you don't need to come in and are that kind of discouraged from coming in with a set idea of what you're going to do, but more of what is your process for doing this kind of work. The projects must occur sometime from September to December of 2021. Projects must be free and publicly accessible, whether that's virtually, in place, or in person. There will be some geographic focal areas for physical projects and activities, but we'll be flexible within those areas. So, that's those hotspots that Jack showed in his presentation. So those are kind of areas that we're hoping to see projects happen, but there's some flexibility about, where and how those happen in those spots. And then we want to see the connection to and collaboration with the guaranteed income recipient families and project sites, groups and organizations that will be supported. Oh no, it says my internet is unstable. People can still hear me. But will be supported by Springboard and city staff. So we are looking for you to have some connection to the issue. The timeline. So we are doing the information session right now. The deadline to apply is Friday, July 16th at 11:59 p.m. People will be notified by Friday, August 6th if you've been accepted. Then you'll sign a contract and receive $4,000 of the $5,000 upfront there. Then you will need to participate in the 4 mandatory cohort meetings. And again, those will be, we'll see how to make it work if they're going to be virtual or in person. Yeah, so that'll be something that gets talked about as the group and will be based on people's comfort in doing that. So the 3 dates are Friday, August 27th from 10 to 1. And that meeting will be about the orientation and brainstorming for these projects. Friday, September 10th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., which is an update and troubleshooting of where people are at. And Thursday, October 7th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And again, that's more kind of updates and troubleshooting. Then as a group, we would also pick one more date that we would expect people to be at. The design and implementation project, you'll be designing and implementing the project from September to December 15th. And then once you complete your project, we will, have a small, pretty simple final report form that we will ask you to fill out. And once we get that, then you'll get the remaining $1,000. But we need to get that before December 31st is the final date to turn in your final report. Do people have any questions about the call, about eligibility, the process, anything like that? Fabulous. Then I'm going to show you what happens when you submit an application. So if you hit the submit application form, it will take you to this. The form does have a save and resume feature that you can use, but we definitely recommend that you, type out your answers in Word or something and then cut and paste it in there just in case. We have had people lose stuff in the past, so definitely recommend writing it down somewhere else. So we really want to improve access to our programs and services. So if you have limited English proficiency, there's a link here that can help with that. And if you need assistance filling out the form, you can contact me. My contact information is here, and myself or one of my colleagues can work with you and help you on that. So we don't want there to be barriers in it. And I will also say that as we are looking through this form, we're really looking at like ideas and concepts, not whether your grammar is perfect, right? Like that's not the criteria. So as you're filling it out, you'll have your name, pronouns are optional, phone number, email. We need you to check that you are a resident of St. Paul. That is a requirement. So your address, and then tell us a little bit about your connection to St. Paul. So, you could be a resident, but maybe you also, grew up in St. Paul or, went to school, work, other connections. So just understanding, how you are connected to the city in itself. This is just a mailing list preference. So artistic mediums. So you can, list more than one. And again, we believe that artists are people who say they are artists. So, don't feel like you have to fit it into some like, formal category. That could be a gardener, that could be a community connector, a cultural worker, like a culture bearer. It could be, something involved with food. Any of those kind of things work there. If you are working with other artists, if you could provide their names, emails, and artistic mediums as well. If you have social media accounts that either you think would be helpful for us in looking at and selecting an artist, or that you use to promote your work, we'd love to see those, both for part of the selection process, but also once artists are selected, it's a great way to help talk about who you are and get the word out there and your work out there. So this is the narrative portion. So these are the workshop dates, and just making sure you can attend them. And then you will have the ability to submit the narrative portion as a video if that is easier for you. We are not asking for high quality video. Again, that's not you. It's something that you can record on your phone. I will come back to this and walk through that process quickly in a moment. I'm going to go through the written narrative portion first, and then we'll come back and touch on the video pieces. So you're welcome to do whichever is easier for you. So first question is just, why are you interested in this opportunity? I think that's pretty self-explanatory. So we have here a word and character count. So that's just something to be aware of. What experience do you have working on civic or community issues? And again, that can be formal or informal. You do not need to have, done a big formal project or civic project. It could be something that you did as part of your artistic practice through yourself or with your neighbors. But again, put that there. And then, how has this engaged community? So it could be from passive engagement, such as, audience viewing, like maybe you created a theater piece or a puppet show and did it for the kids on your block. Or it could have been like an actual active piece, where you were somehow using your artistic practice to gather information from the community, or to do some sort of community visioning, something like that. So here's how you do the work samples. So we need a minimum of 2 work samples are required, but we will accept up to 4. This applies to an individual or team submissions in the field below. So this is kind of, this is what we need from each work sample. So the title of the work, the year it was done, the materials if applicable, maybe materials or medium, and then a short description of the project. And then if it's a video or audio piece, if you want to provide URL links, but don't upload the files. Our system isn't big enough and things can not work. So just, get us links to those. And same with videos. Like if you are doing videos, you'll need to upload your video to YouTube or Vimeo, and then share the URL links with us. And we have the instructions here for how you do that. If you have any issues with that, that's something that you can connect with me. And I'm probably not the person who's going to help you, but we have people on staff who can walk you through that process. So don't let that be a barrier. If you think recording a video is the way to go, do that, and we can help you get it up on YouTube. For images and text files, you can, again, upload up to 4 works of your artistic practice or process. So please upload JPEGs or PDF files, and they'll be, you can see, I will upload a file or I will upload a link. You click on that and it'll show you how to do it. So that should be Pretty simple, but again, if you have any issues with that in any kind of way, please just let us know. Contact me right away, and we will do our best to help you through that process. We definitely don't want technology to be something that is keeping people from applying. So we also have some demographic info that we take. This is optional. It is not something that you need to do, but you can see it is, yeah, so it's demographic information that we do collect, and just helps us understand like who's applying for our projects, and where we need to improve our services and our outreach and our accessibility. So quickly, I'm going to go through and show you the video part, and then we'll open up for questions. So if here, if you clicked on submit a narrative video portion, then it talks about that. So like I said, as you make your video, make sure you answer the questions that are asked in the order that they're asked. So that helps the people who are doing the reviewing to, match that up with the other applications that are coming in. So, make sure you have those handy. Your video should be about 2 to 5 minutes long. It does not need to be big, long answers. It should be a pretty quick thing. And please make sure you answer all the narrative questions and say which question you are answering. And like I said, preferably in the order. And it really does help if you just kind of read the question and then read it like you would if you wrote it down. You'll need to upload your video to YouTube or Vimeo. And again, here's the instructions to that. And like I said before, definitely feel free to reach out to us and we can help you through that process. And then it just will still give you, as you click on that, the questions so that you can answer them in the correct order. Do people have any questions about that?
Miriam asks, since you are not asking us to propose a project in the application, will we plan those in the cohort workshops?
Great question. Yes, you will. And so the first workshop will be a bit of an orientation piece. We'll be doing some training on the way that we kind of think of these projects, but then you would be able to either individually, or if you wanted to work together as a group, that would really be up to you. But you would design those projects and we would give you some time to do that. And then the kind of second and third dates that we have on the calendar would really be for kind of checking in and troubleshooting projects as they're being designed and happening. Any other questions?
Okay, hi, this is Miriam. It's just easier to ask it. Sorry, I'm not showing you my face. It's too complicated right now, but so I'm still, how does this project incorporate with the this larger guaranteed income what's the relationship between what you are hoping artists to do with then the city's program, I guess, and the people involved in that?
So I think, and I'll definitely turn this over to city folks too in just a second. I mean, I think from our perspective, it is, what we're hoping is that these artists, can start helping tell the story of, again, like why this would be helpful, why guaranteed income would be helpful to people, and what are the kind of, what it's kind of like promoting not necessarily just like the city's program, but like the need for guaranteed income. So the kind of storytelling around the needs and the benefits of guaranteed income. I don't know if Jack or Casey, if you have anything else to add to that. Ricardo?
Yeah, I can add to that. So, I think for the city, right, I think Sam was right. We aren't doing this to promote our pilot. We are part of our pilot and engaging in this work is one, we're also working with a larger coalition of cities. And Mayor Carter joined this group called the Mayors for Guaranteed Income, which part of that purpose is to advocate for these type of policies to be available to more families, right? Because I think we don't actually think the city of St. Paul should be in the business of doing this, or that we're the right sort of level of government to be providing this pilot. Like, we aren't thinking that this pilot's going to turn into sort of an ongoing program. What we're trying to do is say how providing this sort of support is helpful for families, and it should be built into the systems at the state, at the federal level of how we support families. So what we hope from these projects and working with artists is a part of that thinking through narrative change in how we support families, like Sam was saying too, like why this is helpful, because I think the other part of guaranteed income that's different than other support that's provided to families in a lot of cases is most of the time we're very prescriptive in the support we provide families, right? So we're like, we give you food support in food stamps. We give you rental support with Section 8 or public housing, right? We say, here's the thing you need, and the state is very paternalistic about how that should happen. The idea behind a guaranteed income is families know best how to meet their needs, and we want to provide them that support to make the decisions for themselves. So it's that sort of giving families decision-making power is kind of the, at the heart of what guaranteed income is. So it's thinking about that too. Like, how do we, one, provide family support so that they aren't struggling, and do it in a way that gives them dignity in making decisions about what that looks like for their family. Is that helpful in helping think through like how this sort of, what's the city's goal in this?
Yes, actually, yeah, it sounds almost, yes, it definitely does. And it's not, well, yeah, the idea, I've heard you use language about storytelling, helping, I guess, in a way, translate what this, the importance of this, what it means for people in an artistic way, I guess, getting to artistic audiences, perhaps. Thank you. Yeah, that clarified for me. I don't know about the others here, but
Great.
Other questions from folks?
Yes, I have a question.
Yeah.
My English name is Tara, but so I am an Indigenous storyteller and an author, and I'm just wondering, I want to make sure I'm coming in knowing everything.
Mhm.
So if we don't have a set plan, but we think we could be beneficial to this project, is that safe to just come in and fill out the application or submit the forms and see where it goes from there?
Mhm. Yeah, so I mean, what, different than a request for proposals, this is a, request for qualifications. And so, what we're looking at is, your like history and ability to do this kind of work. And again, like that doesn't have to be like a formal history of an experience doing this work, but like, your connections to community, the work that you've created, how is that like engaged community and tell community stories. And that's what we're looking for. And so we want to find the right artists and then let those artists design, after learning more about the guaranteed income pilot, after connecting to some of the participants potentially, doing more research into that, like start building what they think either individually or collectively into these projects.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have another question. Sorry.
No?
So if I would like to potentially work with a few other people who I actually have collaborated with before, would those people be also invited to these workshops?
Yes. Yes, they would not only be invited, but we would, need them to be able to come. I mean, obviously things might come up for one or two of them, but like the idea is that like the team, I think there's, in my there's probably more, but there's at least like kind of two ways of working with other artists in this. And I think that there's applying as a team. So, if that's, say yourself and two other artists, and you're gonna be working together on all of this and designing all of this work together, then that team we would want to have at the workshops. You might also apply individually and know that you're going to hire a few people to do specific things, right? Like, what the kind of event you're going to put together, or the kind of like the piece that you're going to put together, and maybe you hire musicians to participate in that, but they're not necessarily part of the planning process. So you could still list them as like collaborators, but not necessarily like as part of the team, if you knew who they were going to be. Or you could say, I know I will draw from artists. So I think it can happen either way, but if they are part of the team, then we would want them to be part of those workshops.
If we apply as a team, does that mean everybody in the team will be submitting work samples?
Not necessarily. You could, like, say you're a team of 4, you could each submit one work sample. And that, if you've, like you've mentioned, you'd done some work with some of these folks that you were thinking about already, you could submit, work samples that were of the work that you've done collectively. Or, you could pick out of all of your portfolios, the work that best fit this from any one of you. But you don't need work samples from each person, but up to 4. So definitely 2, up to 4 from the whole team.
So you'd still want to see samples that represent all team members' artistic work?
We would not necessarily. No, I think that like we would definitely want to see it from the lead artist, right? Like, so some part of it would need to have like the lead artist's work in there. For the other folks, if it made sense, that would be fine. If it was work that you had done collectively, that would be great. But if there's if the lead artist is like, I'm going to put 2 and there's one other one that makes sense, great. We also have someone else on the team, that's fine. We don't need a sample from each person. You could do that if you would like, but really the only requirement is that there's at least 2 work samples. One of them is from the lead artist, and you can submit up to 4.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for all this.
No, not at all. That's what this is for.
Questions, yeah. Thank you.
Anything else?
Hi, this is Carla.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
I can.
We can hear you.
Hi. The work samples, can that be video as rather than a stationary object? So okay, that's video.
Yes, absolutely. And there are here, let me just share my screen again and I'll show you here. So as you're doing your work samples, I'll click this. So you'll say it'll come down here. So this kind of gives the explanation of what we need in each section. So this would be your work sample list. It explains what we need on that list. But then you'd say work sample 1, and you can click either I will enter a link. So if it's a
Oh.
video or an audio thing, you'd enter the link for it.
Mhm.
And then if it's a visual piece, then you would just upload the file, and that could be either a PDF or a JPEG. And then the video or audio would be a link. And again, if you have any trouble figuring out how to upload stuff to YouTube or to get it in the proper form to submit, that's just something you can definitely connect with us, and we'll do our best to help you do that.
And then if the application itself is submitted as a video, do you also want that as to upload or put a link with it rather than submitting the whole video in and of itself?
Yes. It did, like, we've had not great luck with the system when people try to upload the whole video. Like sometimes it just doesn't like work. It's too big or something. So yeah, if you can do the link. And again, like as you click on that you want to submit as a video, there will be a box that pops up that will have instructions on how to do that, and kind of walk you through the steps of what you need to do to upload it. And if you have questions about that, we can help you out with that.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Okay. So the last thing I want to say before I let folks out is that, so we at Springboard are happy to answer people's questions, continue. So you can shoot us emails, you can give us a call. If you do that, we're going to do it on a best effort basis, and doing it earlier rather than later is helpful. It's, we can't necessarily do it, get everybody's questions answered on that final day. And that Springboard offices are going to be closed from July 28th until, June 28th until July 11th. So we'll be back on the 11th or the 12th, whatever that Monday is. The 12th. Yeah. Yes. So that's so we wouldn't be able to answer then, but there will still be, I think, a week from when we get back until this is done. And if you send us your questions, we will do our best to get back to you and help you through that process. So feel free to reach out. All right. Any final questions before we let everyone out of here? All right. Great. Well, thank you so much. If you do want to check back and look at any of this again, it will be up on the website. So you can check out the recording right then. So thank you all so much.
Thank you.
For joining.
Yeah.
Thank you.